you like these videos and you want to see them a day before they go up on YouTube, head over to LBRY. It's an awesome distributed alternative to YouTube, and I absolutely love it. You know, you try to be reasonable, you try to be a kind and understanding person, and then the world goes and does something foolish to show you that people just aren't reasonable. Hey everybody, it's your friend and your guy and your favorite SJW, Gardner. I say that in jest. I've been accused of being an SJW. I've been accused of being a conservative. I don't really fall into any one political camp, I don't think. But today I wanted to give a good ribbing to my liberal friends. I believe in inclusiveness. I've made countless a video where I espouse the value and the virtue of inclusiveness. I'm actually quite an ardent supporter of inclusiveness to my own chagrin. I mean, I've made countless videos talking about why I think inclusiveness is important and why I believe that, we should have rules on how we talk to each other as part of a community. You can see, I'll make a playlist up here. I'll put it up here, maybe if I remember. The thing is, I've received so many terrible, hellishly ghoulish, awful comments from people who disagree with me. The malignant and misanthropic people out there. They just leave comments and say, you're whatever they want to say. I don't know. I tend to block those people in my comments. But I remain undeterred. And a lot of y'all out there are subscribed just for that reason. So I wanted to speak my mind today. And just this week, in the name of inclusiveness, Linus Torvalds rubber-stamped a proposal to make the Linux community, the Linux development community, a more inclusive place. It proposed banning certain terms that were non-inclusive terms. This was a proposed change made to the coding style guidelines. I am all for coding style guidelines. I think it's really important to have a set of standards. This is what our code looks like. This is how it's written. And if you don't write it according to our styles, then it gets rejected. I think that's really important. It's important for many reasons, so that people from all walks of life across the world can write consistent, maintainable, and clean code. So why are we talking about this? Well, because there's a tiny smidge of a little tiny inconsequential issue that I wanted to talk about and blow way out of proportion for you guys. So what are we talking about then? If I'm all on board with inclusiveness and there's a new inclusive policy in the style guide for the Linux kernel, what are we talking about then? So this is a proposal written on the Linux kernel development mailing list by Dan Williams. Let's read this. Recent events have prompted a Linux position statement on inclusive terminology. Given that Linux maintains a coding style and its own idiomatic set of terminology, here is a proposal to answer the call to replace non-inclusive terminology. Okay, fair enough. I can think of at least one problematic idiom off the top of my head. Dan goes on to say, why does any software project go through the trouble of developing a coding style? It does so because a common coding style maximizes the efficiency of both maintainers and developers. Non-inclusive terminology has a distracting effect, which is why it is a style issue for Linux. It injures developers' efficiency. It injures developer efficiency. Okay, so far I'm on board with Dan. I think this is really important stuff. So what are the terms that are non-inclusive? Quote, avoid introducing new usage of the words slave and blacklist. So slave, I get. It's a fair word to just avoid using in the source code for the Linux kernel. Human trafficking is clearly evil. It is inhumane, and it is a blemish on the virtuous pursuits of mankind that plagues us even to this day. So yeah, avoiding the use of the word slave makes sense to me in the Linux kernel. But blacklist. What? Why blacklist? And indeed, Dan saw the need to explain his rationale for the word blacklist. He said, quote, while slave has a direct connection to human suffering, the etymology of blacklist is devoid of a historical racial connection. However, one thought exercise is to consider replacing blacklist or whitelist with redlist and greenlist. realize that the implementation only makes sense if you have been socialized with the concept that red and green implies stop and go. Colors to represent a policy requires an indirection, which is programming speak for referencing a value by a name other than its value. The socialization of black or white to have the connotation of impermissible or permissible does not support inclusion. Wow, you could tell that guy went to college, huh? Wait, all right, so let me get this straight. So we're getting rid of blacklist and whitelist because of racism, even though Dan admits they're not racist. Instead, they are idioms that are somehow contributing to exclusionary practices in the Linux kernel development team or whatever. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. Blacklist is a term that I've used and heard since I was a child. And yes, I was socialized to understand what blacklist means, but that's because that's how language works. You are socialized. Like if you weren't socialized to speak English, then you don't speak English. Am I missing something here? And sure, the etymology of blacklist or whitelist originate in the colors black and white, but these are standalone words at this point. Like these are words that exist in the dictionary with definitions all on their own. It's not like black space list, it's blacklist. Blueprints are rarely blue today, but we still call them blueprints. People know what blueprint means. Don't have to be explained. And I get that blacklist might not be a universal term either, but what about stuff like kernel or roadmap or white space or like blockchain, right? All these made up words that we have in the tech world. I mean, at this point, you might as well be arguing that the fact that the Linux kernel mailing list is written in English is non-inclusive. Like, this doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not angry. Like, this is silliness to me. I'm trying to, like, illustrate how silly I think this is. But I think the thing that's most frustrating and the weird thing that is just so obnoxious about this, the stated purpose of this proposal is to make coding more efficient. Yet, even after the proposed alternatives, blacklist is still the better word to use, in my opinion. Do you know why? It's because the word blacklist has evolved over the course of its many years of human usage to mean blacklist. There's nothing racially charged about it, even though it says the word black in it. And especially in the context of computers, there's nothing even necessarily negative in the use of the term blacklist. For example, you use the kernel module blacklist to prevent kernel modules from being loaded. There's no negative connotation there. I'm just sick of word policing, right? There's no way to ever win. No matter what side you're on, someone's gonna be offended. Just a few weeks ago, I made my Dear Friends video. In that video, I said, Black Lives Matter. I meant what I said. I meant those specific words. And yet there were hundreds of comments and even lots of people who reached out to me in direct messages who said, Black Lives Matter? No, you meant all lives matter. Trying to word police what I was saying. They're wrong. I meant what I said. It's foolish to me to word police, to expect people to kowtow to your specific biases. Words are important. The words we use are important. And to ban words that are useful and benign in their meaning in some misguided Victorian jargon cleansing, it's wrong to me. Look, I'm not some Karen who's trying to raise a stink because my English. I think we can all agree that in the grand scheme of things, this is pretty inconsequential. But what Dan asks in rhetoric, I ask in earnestness and just with a smidge of irony. Why put any effort into something so trivial? That's my video. I know some people are going to get irritated by that, but that's okay. If you disagree with me, do whatever you must. If you liked this video though, you can hit that like button. I really appreciate it. You can share this video with your friends. If you're one of the kind of people who wants to like raise a small internet army of keyboard warriors and go harass people, don't ever do that. Ever. Do not harass people, no matter what. Before I end this video, I wanted to say thank you to everybody over on Patreon who makes what I do here possible. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do these videos. If you believe in the work that I do, you can help support the show over there on Patreon. Thank you guys, it means the world to me. I'll see you guys in the next video. You can pick up some merch if you'd like to get some merch, but that's gonna do it. See you guys later and have a blessed day.